Is this aesthetic? Got my chair, my Christmas tree. Ooh, we are festive. What's up, everyone? It's Lexi here. Welcome back to my channel. It's around the beginning of the new year again. I am so excited for the new year. I love when the new year comes around because I love reflecting on the past year and my accomplishments. I also love thinking about the future and the things that I want to accomplish in the next year. I've seen a lot of posts going around titled the 10 things I've learned in the past decade. I took it upon myself to do the exercise. So the first thing that I have learned in the past 10 years would have to be to develop some good habits. Develop habits that align with how you want to identify yourself. In a world where there are so many variables, your habits are one of the things that you can keep constant. It is the one thing that you can control in all of this chaos, and that can help ground you. An example of a habit that I developed as a child was to drink water every morning when I woke up. I noticed that I was thirsty when I would wake up in the morning, and so the very first thing that I would do is I would get a glass of water and I would drink the whole thing. Now, my habit is to wake up, turn off my alarm, and reach for my glass of water. This is a habit that I've developed. It's something that I don't even think of anymore. However, I do drink water now consistently throughout the day, and I've never really struggled with that as a teenager or as an adult. Some people have to monitor how much water they're drinking. They have to have the milk carton with different times, and you have to drink that amount of water. For me, it's something that comes very natural, and I think it's because I identify myself as a hydrated person and as a person who is a water drinker. This can apply to any kind of identity that you want to have. What is it that you want to be? Decide that is your identity and then build that habit up around it. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, and you should start small. If you want to be a tidier person, you want to be a neat person, that is your identity. You could set a timer for 10 minutes, play some music that's about 3 songs, and let the music go while you are cleaning. Do that every single day until your space is what you want it to be. You now identify as a tidy person. The second thing I've learned in the past 10 years is that there is more support around you when you open up. This is such a hard lesson for me to grasp onto, and I feel like I'm relearning it every week. The reason is because I don't like being vulnerable. If you are opening up about a dream or a goal, that is your baby, and you want to protect it. But if people don't know about your dream or your goals, how are they going to support you? Making yourself vulnerable is a very courageous thing. We need to quit acting like it's weak or negative. And if you open up to someone about your dreams or your goals and they want to tear you down for that, then they are not your person. I know there are expectations in your family, in your friend group, in society, but holding yourself back from the world is doing a disservice to yourself and everyone around you. Some examples of opening up could be telling a friend, a family member, a significant other about a health issue that you're dealing with, or mental health. Telling your friends you have a new interest, a hobby, or something you want to pursue. Who knows? Maybe one of your friends knows someone who is in that studio that you want to go to. When you open up to someone, you will be surprised how many people are willing to love and support you. You will also be creating space for them to open up to you as well. The third thing I've learned in the past 10 years is that being too cool for something is so lame. In 2012, I was trying to be cool in a way that wasn't being my authentic self. I was too cool for things that I genuinely enjoyed, certain media, hobbies, and certain people who involved my friends or family. I was downgrading myself and everything that made me, me. This was a way of protecting my insecurities, so I would act too cool for it. Then I met someone who wasn't too cool. They liked what they liked, danced to have fun, felt everything fully, and expressed their feelings deeply. They openly supported their friends and family and followed their curiosities when it was against the current of what everyone else was doing. Something I envied about this person was how confident and secure they were in their decisions. I became such good friends with this person, and I learned that being too cool for shit is lame. Feel experiences fully and deeply, and try new things that interest you. You are committing to being a more authentic you. The fourth thing that I've learned in the past decade is do not sacrifice your health health and your well-being for work. In 2013, I had a very stressful year. I was in school, I was working, and I was surrounded by some very unreliable people. Therefore, I was taking on a lot of responsibilities that I should not have had to. I was very unhappy with my life in this year, and I was also fairly depressed because of it. I had taken the step of seeing a counselor, however, that was just one more thing that I had to fit into my schedule. I continued on this way until the stress manifested itself into my body, and I got Bell's palsy. Now, for those of you who don't know, Bell's palsy is a disruption of the function of your cranial nerve. The cranial nerve is located behind your ear, and it's responsible for controlling your facial movement. So I go to the urgent care and my face is not responding. I can't really move it. It's drooping a little bit. And essentially they thought I was having a heart attack. So they sent me to the emergency room. The emergency room verified I was not having a heart attack. The way that the doctor described it to me is that my cranial nerve died, making half of my face go paralyzed. This took months and months to grow back. Your cranial nerve, as it's growing back, is kind of just firing off randomly. I had to take a few weeks off of work and school in order for it to heal and to reduce my stress. But to this day, I still have issues with the function of that half of my face. I just don't have the same control that I did. Do not sacrifice your well-being for work. It will always be there. The fifth thing that I've learned in the past 10 years, there is no success without failure. Basically, it means to get where you want to be, don't focus on that one tiny perfect thing. Instead, cast a wider net, and in doing so, you have the opportunity to have 50 perfect things and 1,000 crappy things. Look at it this way. So a photographer takes 50 great, amazing photos. Well, the photographer took 2,000 mediocre photos, and that's how they got 50 amazing photos. This idea was very helpful to learn, especially while I was in school. It doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be done. When you have an idea, finish it. Instead of revising and editing it over and over and over again, it will never be perfect. And trying to make it perfect is a waste of time. Instead, spend that time exploring your new ideas, exploring other things. By default, your next idea is already building off your past idea and everything that you've learned from doing it. Your skills will improve more by trying to make rather than creating one thing and trying to make it perfect. This took a lot of pressure off of myself and allowed for a lot more creativity and experimentation. It's also good to get the bad things out. Let those failures just go. Not everything is going to be a failure. If you've learned something from it, then it's not a failure. You have learned what you needed to learn from that project, and now it is something new. You have to make bad things in order to make good things. Otherwise, how else would you know that they're good? This helped me get to a place where I really liked what I was making, but I would not have gotten to that point unless I had all of the experimentation beforehand. This happened a few years later when I was making these really terrible 30-second animations. I realized I really loved creating videos, and now here I am, creating videos. The sixth thing that I've learned in the past 10 years is that some relationships are not supposed to last. Woo! This was a tough one to learn. So many people dropped from my life. I'm not saying this just has to be personal relationships. This can be relationships with companies, places, landlords, professional relationships. But let's be real, I'm mostly talking about personal relationships. Friends, family members, significant others. Whether you end the relationship or they do, it can still hurt either way. So be patient with yourself. Do you ever just look back at your relationship with someone and you look at your life now and you just feel a rush of relief? That relationship, it wasn't for you, boo. Sometimes it's a matter of outgrowing someone. Sometimes it's a matter of growing apart. Either way, it does not have to last forever for it to be a meaningful and important relationship in your life that could have contributed in forming who you are today. I had a situation when one of my friends told me that I am just too much. And in that moment, I knew that I had already outgrown the relationship. At the time, it hurt. And at the time, I didn't like hearing it. but I probably was too much for that relationship. I was really coming into myself and becoming more secure in who I was. That immense amount of growth can really make some people feel uncomfortable. And sometimes, unfortunately, it is people that you are close to. I truly wish the best for all of the people that I no longer have relationships with. I know I am better for that relationship, and I'm also better because I no longer have that relationship. But you grew, and so did they. Such is the nature of life. Some relationships are not supposed to last. The sixth thing is to let go of things. Let go of things that no longer serve you. I once read a book that had a segment in it talking about how to get over your own excuses by breaking down the stories that you have built up around them. In 2016, I had all of these ideas about myself, who I was, what I could achieve, and more importantly, what I couldn't achieve. The problem was that within the same 2 months, I graduated, moved, and went through a breakup. Almost everything I knew to be my day-to-day life was completely different. Because of this, I felt very isolated. I had to adapt. I had to change. There was no other option but to break down these excuses that I had made for myself. Most of the stories were based out of fear. I cannot put myself out there to make new friends or to find a new job because that's just the person I am. I am not an outgoing person. I am unfriendly and I get annoyed easily. But then I asked myself, well, why do you think you're unfriendly? At the time, I didn't approach people, and the reason behind that was because I was scared of getting rejected, which I feel we are all scared of getting rejected. Break down all of the things that you feel like you cannot do or should not do. And then ask yourself why you feel that way. And then once you recognize it, let that shit go. It is not helping you. It is not serving you. But limiting yourself is so last decade. Every reward in life comes from the willingness to explore the unknown. At the beginning of 2017, I was so scared. I was scared of what was to come. I was scared of who I was. Even more tragically, I was scared of what I wanted out of life. I was scared of who I wanted to become. And this was the year that I realized everything is a risk. Every single thing. So you might as well take the chance and try the things you want to try. Do the things you want to do. I felt so depressed because I did not feel like I had a direction. I had gotten in the habit of living small and playing it safe. I got to a point where I wasn't trying or doing anything that excited me. Fear was holding me back. If you aren't trying new things, how will you find out what is right for you? Because of this fearful way of living, I lost touch with who I was and how I identified. I didn't have or pursue any hobbies or interests, and I felt like a shell of myself. I was just going through the motions. So try something new, make a point to take more risks, and eventually it will feel more and more natural. The next thing that I learned is to set boundaries. I know a lot of people expect there to be general boundaries that are understood by everyone. However, that ain't how it works. You need to set boundaries with basically every person in your life. Your family, your friends, your roommate, your significant other, your job or coworkers. The goal of setting boundaries isn't to push people away or keep them at a distance. The goal of setting boundaries is to uphold the standard of respect. I understand it is not always appropriate to have a conversation about your boundaries, like with a coworker, for example. However, I feel like it is crucial to have boundaries in which you live by. An example is I had a roommate one time call me out of my name. Now, I think most people would assume that that's a no-no, and I took that opportunity to set that example right then and there because it was fresh on all of our minds. I felt like it was appropriate at that time. I expressed to him that he could disagree with me or have a different opinion without calling me a name. Set those boundaries, girl. Do not let people disrespect you. Set boundaries with your partner. Other people need to know how to respect you, as well as you need to know how to respect other people. With coworkers, you can simply not engage. I have overheard many conversations that I did not feel like I wanted to share anything in. Therefore, I just did not engage in that conversation. I've had many coworkers who overshared and then expected me to do the same thing. Set boundaries. The very last thing that I have learned in this decade is to find your purpose. Make your purpose the core of your life. Make it the thing that you pursue. There is a reason why you do things. If you haven't found it, I highly suggest that you take the time to find your purpose. It was one of the most pivotal moments in my life. There are a ton of resources out there that talk about finding your purpose, finding your reason. Why do you do the things that you do? A lot of you might already know what your purpose is. Are you pursuing it? What are you on this earth for? And don't think that your purpose is not meaningful enough or not important enough just because you're not doing charity work. Your purpose will serve you, and it will also serve others. You will figure out the way to help other people or make money from it. But first, you have to figure out what your purpose is and make it into your passion. Those are everything I've learned in the past decade. I hope you all have a great 2020. As my good friend said, it's the year of seeing clearly.